Good afternoon, children. How are you all? I hope you all are doing great. Well, it's time to start another topic, and today we are going to do a literature chapter, The Swan King. A very simple and a beautiful story. Basically, it's a Jataka tale. Now, before starting the story, let me tell you what do you mean by Jataka tales? The history of Jataka tales. Children, basically Jataka is a type of literature from India, also known as Jataka or Jataka tales, and they contain stories of previous life of Gautam Buddha. Okay, so they are inspired by the life of Gautam Buddha. So obviously, these story actually they are very important because in every story Buddha exhibits some virtue, okay, some good deeds to inspire and set an example for all humanity. So, this is one of the Jataka tales which we are going to read, and this story also has a very beautiful message because it is inspired by the lives of Buddha. So, every story inspires and set an example for all humanity. Okay, so let's start the story. Basically, this story relates to the greatness of the Swan King, the chief of his army and hunter called Nishad. So let me introduce you to the characters of the story first. So the first character of the story is King Sakula. Okay, he was the king of kingdom of Mahismak. He was a kind and noble king, and people were very happy and at peace in his kingdom. People were very happy. So he is King Sakula. Okay. Second character is the hunter. His name is Nishad, and he used to catch birds and sell them to earn his living. So this is another important character of this story. Okay, his name is Nishad. What he used to catch birds and sell them to earn his living. So this is how he used to earn his living. And then there was Swan King. Okay, his name was Dhrutarashtra. He used to live in golden cave on the mountain Chitrakoot. And his clan means family. His clan had thousands of beautiful swans, and the chief of his army was Sumukh. He was chief of Dhritarashtra army. Again, he was also a very devoted and dutiful soldier. So these are the four characters of the story. King Sakula, very kind king. Then Nishad the hunter, he used to catch birds to sell them to earn his living. Third character is Swan King, okay, who used to live in Golden Cave on the mountain Chitrakoot, and his dutiful soldier Sumukh. Okay, now how story goes. So one day in search of birds, this hunter, what is the name of the hunter? Yes, Nishad. He went to far off place. He came to a lake. Okay, it was a beautiful lake full of lotuses of different colors. Okay? He saw a marshy land and thought, what do you mean by marshy? Can someone tell me? Yes, shallow land filled with water. So this is a suitable place to catch swans. So because obviously he saw that such a beautiful lake it was, so he was sure that swans would come here to spend their time. So he thought that if he wants to catch swans, he should actually spread his net here. So he spread his net and hid himself behind the thick bushes. Okay, let's see what happens next. So one day a flock of swans is a collective noun, came to the Swan King and said that they had heard that there was a beautiful place for grazing. Grazing means feeding on eating grass at the Lotus Lake. Now, the same lake where the hunter had put his net, they are talking about that place, and they said that we had heard about this beautiful place, at Lotus Lake and we want to go there. It is close to the kingdom of Sakula. Shall we go there today? So they were asking the Swan King. What was the name of Swan King? Dhritarashtra. Now, the Swan King, because he was the king, so he was quite intelligent, he knew that this place was close to human habitat, so he tried to convince them. Okay, he tried to convince them that they should not go because the human beings lived there and the hunters could trap the swans, and it would be dangerous to go there. But the swans were really attracted. They were lured. Lured means when you are attracted to something. So they were so attracted by the beautiful description of Lotus Lake that they insisted. Okay, they said that no, they want to go there. So Dhritarashtra was a very kind king. He was a swan king. He had to agree, and they all flew together towards the Lotus Lake. Okay, the flock of swans as they flew in the sky looked like a pearl necklace gliding among the clouds. So it seemed that they looked like when they were then they were flying in the sky. It was that scene was so beautiful. It looked like a pearl necklace. Okay, the necklace gliding among the clouds. But as soon as the Swan King descended means when you go down, like they were flying, now they went down on the ground. His feet got entangled, his feet got caught in the net. Who spread that net there? Yes, Nishad, because he knew that Swan would come to spend time, so he had already put a net there. So poor Swan King's foot entangled in that, his feet got entangled in that net spread. He tried to get his feet out, but he could not. He got bruises. There were wounds all over. His feet was bleeding, but he did not raise an alarm. You know why? Because he was such a thoughtful king. He thought about his swans, his family. He thought that if he raised an alarm, all the swan would be scared. Obviously, they would get scared of what happened to our king and they would run away without eating. And if they did not get anything to eat, they would become weak, and without adequate strength, they would not be able to fly for long. They might fall into the sea, and then they would become the prey for sharks. Then sharks would eat them. Just imagine how thoughtful and kind the Swan King was. His feet was his feet were bleeding. Still, he was not thinking about himself. He was in deep pain. He still didn't raise an alarm. He didn't cry out of pain because he knew that if he started crying or if he raised an alarm, then all other swans would get scared. Okay, they would run away without eating, and if they ran away without eating, they would become weak, and if they become weak, they would not be able to fly for long, and then they would fall into the sea and sharks would eat them. So for their safety, Swan King stood silently, and he actually tolerated all the pain. Now all the swan grazed to their heart's content. They Because they didn't know that what happened to the Swan King, so they just grazed the lovely grass, and then they thought that it's time to go back. Only then he screamed. Who screamed? Yes, the Swan King. When he came to know that okay, all his family members had eaten, they were satisfied. Then he screamed, "I am trapped!" Frightened of being trapped, all the swans quickly flew up and headed towards Chitrakoot. They wanted to save their lives, so they all quickly started flying back to Chitrakoot, and they had enough food, so they had strength to fly, so they flew back. But Sumukh noticed. Who was Sumukh? I told you in the beginning. He was the Who was Sumukh? Yes, he was the he was a dutiful soldier. See, he was a chief of Dhritarashtra army. Okay, and he was a very dutiful and devoted soldier. Okay, so suddenly Sumuk noticed that the king was missing. He searched the flock everywhere. With fear in his heart, he returned to the lotus lake. He was such a dutiful soldier that he thought that he would go back and search for his master. And then he saw the king standing on the marshy land. And the Swan King was not able to fly because his feet were caught up in the net. So Sumuk tried to go closer to save the Swan King. So Swan King warned him, "Stay away. There is a trap here. You will be caught in it." So the Swan King wanted to save Sumuk, but Sumuk was too loyal to stay. He said that I would not go. Whoever comes to take you will have to fight with me first. I will protect you at the cost of my life. This shows how dutiful he was. Though Swan King tried to convince him that please go back, otherwise the hunter will catch you. But Sumuk replied firmly that I have served you in your good times. How can I leave you alone when you are in trouble? Just imagine. Dhritarashtra was proud of Sumuk, but he did not want him to die. He said, I know, Sumuk, you are devoted to me. You are very dutiful. I appreciate, but please return. Our clan, our family needs you. Just then they saw the hunter. What was the name of hunter? Nishad, coming towards them. Both stood still and silent. Now Nishant came closer. He saw that the Swan King was trapped in the net, but he was surprised that why the other swan, the soldier, why was he standing there? What was he doing there? Okay, so both just then saw Nishad coming towards them. Both stood still and silent. Nishad came closer. He found the feet of Swan trapped in his net. They were wounded and bleeding, but the strong Swan was not trapped, yet it did not fly away. Who is the strong Swan here, children? Yes, Sumuk. So he asked Sumuk, this swan cannot fly, means this swan here means the Swan King cannot fly because obviously it is trapped. But why you are not flying off? So Sumuk told him everything, that he is my king and he is my dear friend. I won't leave him like this. So Nishant was actually very impressed, and he was actually, his heart melted to see the devotion, honesty, kindness of Sumuk. So he was surprised. He had never seen such a good heart in human beings. He decided to let both of them go back to Chitrakoot. Okay, he thought that he would set both of them free, looking at Sumuk's kindness. So he decided to let both of them go back to Chitrakoot. He went to Dhritarashtra, loosened the net around his feet, then he took him to the lake to wash his wounds. Okay? He made the Swan King sit on medicinal grass, and then very gently, with lot of love and care, he started washing the bloods and wounds on his feet. And as Nishad started washing the wounds, in an instant, quickly they got healed, and new fur appeared, and all three of them were happy. Okay, so what happened next? Did they go back? The Swan King and Sumuk? No, because they were equally good hearted. Sumuk realized the fact that by setting them free, Nishant was losing his income, because what was the source of his income? He used to catch the birds and sell them. So they did not want to do that. So Sumuk told Dhritarashtra, we are grateful to Nishant for his kind act, but it would not be fair on our part to deprive him, okay, of his living. After all, he has family to look after. Wow, such a noble thought. They could have just flown back, saving their life, but they were more concerned about the hunter. Then he asked Nishad, "Tell me, friend, why did you spread the net?" Obviously, Nishad replied, "To catch birds and earn money by selling them." So, in that case, you take both of us to your king. Both of us here refer to the Swan King and Sumuk. Tell him that one of us is the king and other is the chief of the army. Your king will be happy to see us and he will give you a big reward. Nishad did not approve of this idea. He said that please don't insist, Dad. I don't know what will king decide. Though he is a kind-hearted king, but it depends on his mood. He may tell me to catch you and then kill you or sell you both, and he didn't want to do that. Sumuk appreciated Nishad's concern but explained, "A person can be won over by love and respect. Even your king will display kindness. Because you displayed kindness to us, I am sure your king, whenever you give love to others, whenever you are being kind to others, then I'm sure the other person will also reciprocate in the same way." So finally, Nishad agreed, and then they all went to the king. "I have brought very special guests for the great king." Who said these lines? Nishad said to the king. Both these swans belong to Dhutarashtra clan. One is the king, another is the chief of the army. The king got up from his throne, okay, and gave a golden throne to the Swan King. After all, he was also a king, okay, and seat to Nishad and Sumuk. Now the king wanted to know, how did Nishad find such divine means saintly, good looking swans? Nishad narrated the whole story. And the king, he himself was a very kind king. He was overjoyed to have such special guest in his court. He was also pleased with Nishat, who had given greater importance to the precious life instead of his monetary gains. Okay, so he was very impressed. Instead, he was pleased because he realized that look at Nishad, he would have easily caught both the swans and sold them in the market, but he gave greater importance to the lives, and that is why the king awarded Nishad. He gifted him a village from where he could earn revenue and also gave him a palace like house. The king then requested the Swan King to give him a sermon. Sermon is religious talk, okay? And then finally, the king bade them goodbye. Bade is past tense of bid. Dhritarashtra and Sumuk returned safely to Chitrakoot. Very simple and